In the ancient kingdom of Garmbo, where the golden sands kissed the sapphire skies, a prophecy whispered through the winds, a curse so ancient that it had become little more than a legend. Yet, in the heart of the royal palace, this forgotten tale was a living nightmare for one person, Princesssophia. Sophia is the most beautiful princess across the land. Renowned for her flawless skin that shimmered like moonlight and her eyes as deep and enchanting as the forest at dusk, Sophia was a vision of beauty. Her charm and grace could captivate even the most stoic of hearts. But her secret, a torment she could neither escape nor conceal, loomed like a shadow over her life. No man will marry her due to a long-forgotten curse she found herself entangled in. All the men who comes to ask for her hand in marriage will always leave and never come back. Beneath her resplendent exterior, a foul, inexplicable odor clung to her. No fragrant oils or flower-infused baths could rid her of the stench, and no healer in the kingdom had found a cure. At first, the court dismissed the issue as a mere exaggeration. But as Sophia grew older, her condition became undeniable. Her presence, though radiant, repelled those who dared to come close. Servants whispered rumors in hushed voices, maids held their breaths while tending to her, and noblemen who once sought her hand in marriage would leave, their faces pale with disgust. When Sophia turned 18, her father, King Zaga, summoned healers, priests, and sages from across the lands. They performed rituals, chanted ancient hymns, and offered rare sacrifices to the gods. None could find the source of her plight. The people of Garmbo began to murmur that this curse was no ordinary affliction. It was the wrath of the ancestors, tied to a sin so grave that it had tainted their bloodline. The breaking point came when the greatest suitor of all, Prince Obiora from a very prosperous land, came to ask for Sophia's hand in marriage. His reputation as a brave warrior and kind-hearted ruler had made him a dream match for Sophia. He was really excited to be at the palace, but after getting close to the princess, his excitement disappeared. He left without a word. The shame of rejection was too much for the princess to bear. 4 days, she locked herself in her chambers, refusing food and drink. One night, under the light of a blood-red moon, an elderly maid slipped into Sophia's chambers. She was called Mama Coco, a servant who had been with the royal family for decades. She leaned close and whispered, "There is one who can help you, my princess. But the path is dangerous and the price unimaginable." Sophia, desperate for answers, begged Mama Coco to reveal what she knew. The old woman spoke of an ancient curse that bound the royal family, a punishment from the water spirits for the betrayal of a sacred pact made generations ago. The only way to lift it, Mama Coco claimed, was to seek out the Serpent King. It is said that he dwells in the forbidden forest, the forest of ancestors. Look for the giant tree that holds the forest, the tree whose root sinks deep into the center of the earth. Find the tree and you will find the Serpent King. He will test your courage, your heart, and your soul, Mama Coco warned. Only those willing to give everything can hope to break his spell. You must sleep beside him for 3 nights. If you survive, you will be free. Sophia's heart sank. Sleep with a serpent? The thought filled her with dread. But what choice does she have? Her life had become a prison, and this was the only key. The following day, Sophia approached her father with trembling hands and told him of her decision. King Zaga, though protective of his only daughter, could see the desperation in her eyes. With a heavy heart, he agreed to let her go. He sends a small group of guards to accompany her to the edge of the forbidden forest. As the sun set on the day of her departure, the kingdom gathered to bid farewell to their princess. Sophia stood tall, her royal robes billowing in the evening breeze, hiding the fear that churned within her. She clutched an amulet given to her by Mama Coco, said to offer protection against the dangers of the forest. Then she started her journey. The journey to the forbidden forest was fraught with peril. The dense trees whispered secrets in the wind, and the ground seemed alive, shifting beneath their feet. Her guards, though brave, were unnerved by the eerie silence that enveloped them. When they reached the forest's edge, none dared to go further. "You must walk this path alone, my princess," the captain of the guard said, his voice trembling. "May the gods watch over you. You may not come across this channel again, so please subscribe so you don't miss any of our amazing stories." With a deep breath, Sophia stepped into the shadowy embrace of the forest, the weight of her fate pressing heavily on her shoulders. The moment Princesssophia stepped into the forest of ancestors, a chill crawled over her skin, sending goosebumps racing down her arms. The air was thick and heavy, saturated with the scent of damp earth, moss, and an inexplicable sweetness that made her uneasy. She clutched the coral amulet Mama Coco had given her, its smooth surface grounding her as the shadows around her seemed to dance and whisper. Each step forward felt like a journey into another world. The trees were impossibly tall, their roots twisting into unnatural shapes, some resembling outstretched hands, others curling like sleeping serpents. The moonlight barely pierced the dense canopy above, casting eerie, shifting shadows that seemed to move even when the wind was still. Suddenly, a low growl echoed in the distance. Sophia froze. Her pulse quickened, her heart pounding so loudly that she feared it would betray her presence. She scanned her surroundings, gripping a small knife hidden within the folds of her indigo robe. The growl came again, louder this time, and she realized it was not just one sound but a symphony of guttural noises, like creatures awakening from slumber. The wind shifted, carrying whispers.
"Turn back. You're not ready. You will fail."
The voices were faint yet insistent, tugging at her resolve. But Sophia squared her shoulders and pressed on, muttering under her breath, "I have no choice. My people depend on me." Hours turned into what felt like days as she traversed the forest. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but she dared not stop. The forest seemed alive, watching her, testing her. She came upon a stream with water so clear it sparkled like diamonds under the faint moonlight. Kneeling, she cupped her hands to drink, but just as the water touched her lips, it turned black and foul, the stench making her gag. A voice rose from the water, deep and mocking.
"You seek purity where none exists. You cannot cheat the path ahead."
Sophia recoiled, her throat dry with thirst. She stumbled backward, her resolve shaken but not broken. As she ventured deeper, the trees thinned, revealing a vast, mist-covered clearing. In its center stood an ancient baobab tree, its bark etched with glowing symbols. Beneath it, a figure materialized, a woman with skin like burnished bronze and hair that cascaded like black silk. Her eyes were silver, reflecting the light of unseen stars.
"Princesssophia,"
the woman said, her voice melodic yet stern,
"I am Nodim, keeper of regrets. Before you face the Serpent King, you must confront the truth of your heart. What burdens do you carry?"
Sophia hesitated. "I carry the shame of my curse, the whispers of my people, the disappointment of my father." Nodim tilted her head.
"And yet you carry more. Dig deeper."
The ground beneath Sophia trembled. Shadows emerged, taking shape, figures from her past. She saw herself as a child, mocking a servant for a torn garment. She saw a moment of pride when she dismissed a suitor who was kind but poor. And then she saw herself in the mirror, weeping alone, consumed by bitterness.
"You have been weighed down by pride, princess,"
Nodim said.
"To face the Serpent King, you must release it."
Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she knelt before the spirit. "I let go," she whispered. The shadows dissolved and the path ahead became clearer. The final stretch of the forest was a maze of towering cliffs and glowing plants that pulsed with life. At the center of it all was the ancient tree Mama Coco had described. Coiled around its massive trunk was the Serpent King. His emerald scales shimmered, reflecting every shade of green imaginable, and his golden eyes glowed with an intensity that made Sophia's knees tremble. "Princesssophia," he hissed, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to resonate with the earth itself.
"You have come to fulfill the pact your ancestors broke."
"Yes," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "I am ready."
"Are you?"
The Serpent King's eyes narrowed.
"This is no simple act of courage, child. To lie within my coils is to confront not only your fears but your very essence. The pride, the shame, the lies you tell yourself, all will be laid bare."
Sophia swallowed hard. "I will endure. For my people, for my family, and for myself." As the Serpent King's massive body began to encircle her, Sophia felt an icy chill seep into her skin. His touch was not slimy as she had imagined but cold and unyielding, like stone. Her heart pounded like a drum in the silence of the forest. His gaze pierced her very soul, unearthing emotions she had buried deep within. The Serpent King speaks, his voice reverberating through the clearing.
"Your ancestors wove a tapestry of betrayal, and you are the thread that will mend it. But be warned, your courage will be tested, and failure will bind this curse to your bloodline forever."
The Serpent King coiled himself around the great tree, his movements slow and deliberate as if sizing her up.
"The first trial begins now. To prove your worth, you must confront the truth of your lineage."
Before Sophia could ask what he meant, the world around her dissolved into darkness. When the light returned, she was back in her palace, standing before a crowd of suitors. They recoiled in disgust, their words sharp as daggers. Cursed, unworthy, a disgrace. Their laughter echoed, growing louder until it became unbearable. Then the scene shifted. She saw her ancestors, their faces twisted with guilt and fear. Queen Owagochi, the ruler who had forged the cursed pact with the water spirits. Sophia watched in stunned silence as the scene unfolded like a play. Queen Owagochi sat on her throne, her eyes hard with ambition. Before her knelt a shimmering figure, the water spirit, Agbala, who had taken human form to strike a deal with the queen. Your kingdom thrives because of our waters, Agbala said, her voice as fluid as a river. In return, you vow to protect our sacred streams. But you have allowed your people to pollute them, to take without giving. This must end. Queen Owagochi sneered. Your streams may feed my kingdom, spirit, but it is my rule that brings order. You are nothing but a myth to my people. I owe you nothing. Agbala's eyes flashed with anger. Then I curse you and your descendants. The stench of betrayal will cling to your bloodline until a child of Garmbo humbles themselves and restores balance between our realms. The vision faded, and Sophia found herself back in the clearing. Her knees buckled as the weight of her ancestors' actions crashed down on her.
This is the truth you must carry, the Serpent King said. Your curse is not merely a punishment, it is a lesson in humility and respect for the forces that sustain life. Do you accept this burden?
Tears streamed down Sophia's face. I accept it, she said, her voice trembling. But how can I right this wrong?
Patience,
the Serpent King replied.
The path will reveal itself. For now, rest. Tomorrow, the second trial awaits.
The first night was restless. Sophia lay beneath the tree, the Serpent King coiled nearby, his presence both comforting and unnerving. The forest seemed alive, its whispers lulling her into a fitful sleep. When dawn broke, the Serpent King led her deeper into the forest.
Your second trial lies within the Forest of Echoes, he said. Here, you will face the voices of doubt and fear that dwell within you.
The trees grew denser as they walked, their twisted branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sun. Shadows danced around her, and faint whispers filled the air.
You're not worthy,
one voice hissed.
Turn back,
another said. You'll only bring more shame to your family. Sophia clenched her fists, trying to shut out the voices, but they grew louder, each one striking at her deepest insecurities. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was her reflection, but distorted. This version of herself sneered, her posture haughty. You think you can break the curse? The reflection mocked. You're weak. You'll fail just like everyone else. No, Sophia shouted, her voice echoing through the forest. I will not fail. The reflection laughed. Prove it? At that moment, the forest came alive. Vines shot out from the ground, wrapping around Sophia's arms and legs. She struggled, but the more she fought, the tighter they held her.
Let go of your fear,
the Serpent King's voice echoed in her mind.
Only then can you break free.
Sophia closed her eyes, focusing on her breath. She thought of her people, her father, and the hope that her journey could bring. Slowly, the vines loosened their grip and fell away. When she opened her eyes, the distorted reflection was gone, replaced by a shimmering light that guided her back to the clearing.
You have faced your doubts and emerged stronger,
the Serpent King said.
But the final trial will demand even more.
The third night was the most daunting. Sophia knew the final trial would determine not only her fate but the fate of her entire bloodline. The Serpent King led her to a hidden lake, its surface glowing with an ethereal light. This is the lake of truth, he said.
To lift the curse, you must offer something of great value, something that defines you.
Sophia hesitated. She had brought nothing with her except the amulet Mama Coco had given her. What can I offer? She asked. The Serpent King's eyes glowed brighter.
You must decide what you are willing to give up for the sake of your people. This is a test of your heart.
Sophia thought of her life, the luxury of the palace, the love of her father, and the future she had dreamed of. Slowly, she removed the amulet and held it over the lake. This amulet has protected me, she said, but I no longer need it. I offer it as a symbol of my trust in the spirits. As the amulet touched the water, a radiant light engulfed the lake. The Serpent King began to transform, his scales shedding to reveal a regal figure, a man with golden eyes and a crown of serpentine jewels. You have passed the trials, he said. The curse is lifted. Go forth and lead your people with the wisdom you have gained. When Sophia returned to Garmbo, the change in her was evident. The foul odor was gone, replaced by a radiant aura that inspired awe and reverence. The people of Garmbo celebrated her bravery, and suitors once again sought her hand in marriage. Sophia learned a very valuable lesson of humility and balance in her journey. She ruled with compassion, ensuring that the waters of Garmbo remained pure and that the pact with the spirits was honored. Her journey became a legend, a tale passed down through generations as a reminder of the power of courage, sacrifice, and the bond between humanity and nature. What did you learn in this story? We post a lot of amazing stories on this channel. Please subscribe and we promise to always make your time worth it. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments section. I appreciate you for staying to the end of this video. Will you like part 2 of this story? Comment next.